this episode of On the Move, we have episode 13 with Jakob Huck. Jakob is currently on the road with Buck Brannaman, traveling as his right-hand man to all these clinics. We're in Lewisburg, West Virginia at the moment, where we were able to sit down with him for a little bit and talk about how he got into horsemanship, how he got linked up with Buck, and kind of what he's pursuing right now and what he might want to do in the future. So it was super fun to get to meet him, and yeah, just kind of another kindred spirit. Like you said, super polite kid. Listen to me ramble, and we should have just let him go to bed. But no, he's awesome, and I thought it was a great podcast.
Oh yeah, and we couldn't have had a better place to record this. I mean, we got in here, we caught him Thursday night before the clinic starts tomorrow.
Yep.
And all else failed, so we're down here by the arena. We set up in a nice spot, and
yeah, in the stands under the lights.
Yeah, this is our first outdoor podcast.
Yeah, it's solid, man.
Sure is.
Did good.
But Jacob's a great guy, and I'm sure Buck appreciates him on the road. Seems like he's doing a tremendous job.
Yeah.
And
he's Johnny on the spot. You can tell.
Yeah. Just dialed in. He just kept talking about that.
Yeah.
How his number one job is whatever Buck needs.
Yep.
Making sure things roll smooth for Buck. Making sure, and you forget that those guys, when they work for somebody whose whole career, well, when they're on the road, is a weekend deal, a class.
Yeah.
And then their job is making that smooth. So we caught him just before going to work tomorrow.
Absolutely.
So anyway, that was a lot of fun.
Cool. Enjoy the episode, everybody. How do I tighten the up and down on the...
Oh, so you just turn this here?
Yeah, I thought it was that.
Yeah. Counterclockwise, and that thing will slide up and down.
Okay. But I tighten it, go clockwise.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Because it was just a little loose. Yeah. No, I really like this one. That was actually the first time ever I've had to adjust it up and down.
No, the Gator stuff is the best. I bought one of those for Bill for his mic stand in the studio.
Yeah.
And that Gator stand is like you could like swing around on that thing.
Yeah. But so where you've probably seen it from my video, but like where I record at my house, it's like an adjustable standing desk. So instead of adjusting the height of this, I just hit the button and adjust the desk up and down. So I've never had to move the mic up and down before.
When you and Mark were on there, you said you had your computer on a bed.
Yeah, so our podcast studio is like the guest bedroom. And like it's fine for just me. But because we needed two people in the shot, I had to move the bed I had to move the camera onto the bed so it could get both of us in the shot.
Oh yeah.
So it was like if you imagine where like me and him were Mark, it would be like this table, and then where you are is a bed. So we had the actual computer on the bed, and you were like that big. But
yeah, you got to get the big screen thing.
Yeah, I've got the big dual monitors. I just got to take the time to set it up.
Set it up.
But Jacob, you should have seen last year when he did the clinic in Kentucky. It looked like this, but it was way worse. It was like one of these trotting places, and then in the center they had a bunch of bushes and like a little gazebo, and then like the whole stands around there, they were like all like lattice work and little points and stuff.
Yeah.
And I wanted Robbie to play the soundtrack from Mary Poppins so bad because he's like trotting around the outside, and it would have been he would have probably stopped.
If you would have been here yesterday, they had a gazebo and a little board right there.
I mean that's definitely what that like wet spot is.
So they just had that temporarily though.
Yeah, you can rip it out. Basically.
Yeah, no, this place was like grandfathered in there.
Yeah,
because those walking horse shows, that's like where they put the judge. Is like smack dab in the middle of the whole deal.
Yeah,
they sit in that gazebo.
Really?
Yeah.
So they have like a swivel chair.
Man, I don't know how.
That'd be the ticket, right?
I guess they just see you coming by.
You wouldn't want to have headphones with the cord on though.
It's kind of like the center deal at the PBR.
Yeah.
All the photos and stuff like that. Or
that
Cheyenne Frontier Days, they got something similar to that.
Don't they do like a
I've seen that
VIP
at
box
Frontier
where you
Days.
can sit down there
I'm
like
sure,
in the rodeo?
Yeah, I don't know that much about it.
I hope they do that at like
see all
Steve
the cameras.
Lambert's clinics.
Yeah. Yeah.
That'd be the ticket, right?
Yeah.
Oh, man. Well, anyway, welcome, Jacob.
Thank you.
Great
Thanks
to
for
have you
having
on.
me.
Hell yeah. We, it's awesome. We got set up here, and Lewisburg? We're in Lewisburg, West Virginia.
Lewisburg, West Virginia, at the West Virginia State Fairgrounds.
Yeah.
Right down here on the front row.
Yeah. Heck yeah.
Best seats in the house.
Under the lights.
Yeah.
Let her buck.
Well, that's kind of like letter buck, but like in walking horse terms.
Mm-hmm.
The little
Exactly.
icons.
Tennessee Walker.
What is that? A little, not an emoji. What do you call that little like figure?
Silhouette.
A silhouette?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, duh. Makes sense.
Yeah. No,
Okay.
they're ready to rumble in here, man.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just ready tomorrow. Like, I hope we do our clinic, the majority of it, like on the harness track, and we just race all morning. That's what I want.
Joe's like Mr. Mayhem.
Yeah.
That's what I would do if
Get
I
your
was a clinician.
hind quarters, front quarters, and then whip and spur. Baby.
Yeah. All right, you 5 line up right here.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
we'll wait for you to get back.
Yeah.
Well, you were at the clinic in Ellensburg this year, right?
I was.
Did anybody
Yep.
race this year?
Not that I know of. No, I was riding horse. I was riding my own horse, but I'm sure somebody did.
Yeah. They don't. Do they play golf during that clinic?
Yeah. Yeah, they're busy playing up at I think it's called Tumble Creek.
It doesn't mess anybody up. Like, does Buck? He probably doesn't, but he doesn't wait for anyone to like get on their backswing and then say something real loud.
No, that's not him.
Is he?
He's courteous,
Yeah.
very courteous when it comes to that.
Yeah.
But
No, I figured.
he's one of the fastest golfers you'll ever golf with.
That's what
I
I've
played
heard.
a bunch of golf with him, and we kind of fit. You know, I don't want to just stand there, just I don't know, taking time. We're not PGA Tour, we're amateurs. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
let's just play.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's one of the fastest people that I know that plays golf. In fact, we were in Longmont, Colorado, not too long ago, and we were playing at Firestone, which is a nice little. Actually, it's called Saddleback. And it's a pretty nice little course, and they on the golf carts they have a little screen, and it tells you your time, like how fast you're golfing.
Oh, man.
And we finished an hour and 45 minutes ahead of schedule. Granted, nobody was in front of us, so and that was 18 holes. That's
humping
fast.
it.
Yeah. So,
Man.
yeah.
Well, people would be feeling some pressure at like the Celebrity Open.
Yeah.
Like, we got
Yeah,
Buck Brannaman behind us again.
Yeah.
They'd be screwing up.
No,
Yeah.
So-
Were you a golfer before Buck?
kind of.
Kind
I mean, I took a few lessons when I was younger. I did the little kid camps, when I was like 8 years old. Played a little golf. And my uncle was a pretty big golfer, so he'd always take us out whenever he could, and my brother and I. And then most of all of the stuff that I learned, I watched from YouTube videos.
Oh, yeah.
I looked up Tiger Woods, like little tips here and there and stuff. And then not too long ago, I got to play with the PGA Tour player Gary Hallberg, who's on the Champions Tour right now.
Really?
Yeah, I got to play with him.
Good deal.
And
Cool, man.
yeah, it was pretty cool. He's one of the nicest guys you'd ever meet. He's just down to earth, awesome, fun.
Yeah.
And his friend Joe Bostic, who's been teaching golf for 40 years, so he gave me a couple pointers here and there. And so,
Cool.
yeah,
Very cool.
Bucks give me a handful. And
What do you shoot typically?
Oh, that's a
Well-
mean thing to ask on a podcast.
Nah.
Oh, well, I mean, it'd be higher than either one of us, I'm
Yeah.
sure.
it's
You mean lower? Ben plays a lot.
Higher. See? That was
higher's
self-explanatory.
better. No.
Yeah. Freaking cowboy.
Well, when I started golfing with him. I played one round in Greenville, Texas, right before we headed home, and that was my first round one of my first rounds with him. And then we got to Corning, California, at the end of April, and for 2 weeks we got there like really early. So we were 10 days ahead of the first clinic. So we were
wow.
about 2.5 weeks there because there was a big snowstorm back home we were trying to beat. And so we got there, and all we did was golf. I played 366 holes with him.
Holy cow.
Man.
It's a lot of holes.
Over
So,
10 days?
Over 10 days. So in that
That's
amount of
more
time,
than 2
that's a lot.
games. Holy
Yeah, we
cow.
did. Some days we did 3 rounds a day.
Yeah.
But I took over 10 strokes off my game
I bet you would.
at the end of that. And then last week I shot a 79. So
Oh, so you are good.
no. That's I got lucky, but
Yeah.
Good.
that's the best round I've ever played.
I mean,
so.
that's what you would have to do to be a good golfer is play golf.
Play
A
golf.
lot.
It's just like being somebody
sleep
good that's
it.
starting Colts
Yeah.
or anything. You have to practice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think podcasting is probably the only thing where you just give it hell whenever you get a chance.
Yeah, but we
Yes
also
and no.
like. Yeah, I mean, we suck and are slowly maybe getting better.
Maybe.
No, I think you need to practice that. I don't know. I mean, we talk about it all the time. Like,
Little bit.
We're getting better. But I mean, we've only done 12 episodes?
A little bit.
And there's people who've done thousands of episodes.
Yeah,
so.
you look at, I mean, yeah, like the big names, Joe Rogan, Impulsive, the Logan Paul podcast, all those guys. But
yeah, they're doing all right.
there's a lot. Yeah, they're doing okay.
Yeah.
I think the key is volume.
It is.
Because some of that stuff, some of those guys, they say the same thing over and over and over again.
Yep.
And I was talking to my girlfriend the other day, and I said, hey, it's like, you get on me for saying the same thing sometimes, but do you realize, like, these guys say the same thing over and over and over and over and over again?
Yeah.
And they're famous for it.
Yeah. And then she was like, huh. Yeah, but I have to hear it from you all the time. I was like, okay, well, I'll quit telling you the same thing over and over and over again.
You got to feed the beast. That's part of the deal with the whole social deal. You got to do it.
Man.
Well, I think that goes all the way to like with Buck. I mean, just with doing the clinics, I know so many people look forward to him every year,
right.
And it'll be interesting with him slowing down some. But
yeah,
I think for years, I probably said this before, right, Joe? But you know how some people have like an internal like Santa Claus clock? They like count down to Christmas. Like when Christmas is done, their whole year revolves around Christmas.
Yeah.
Since I've got into this, I think my whole year revolves around I know when I'll see him next.
You see him, yeah.
Yeah. And so
yeah.
I can't think of how many other people must feel that way.
I'm sure. Yeah.
It's a big deal.
Yeah. There's a lot. I mean, it's crazy the amount of, I mean, he's kind of a celebrity in the clinic world, really. He's one of the best there is.
He's definitely a celebrity.
Yeah. He is. And there's times where people come up and they don't even know how to talk to him. And I tell them, it's like, he's just human, But I look back the first time I met him and it's like, I was like, I didn't even know how to talk to him. I was so scared for nothing. He's one of the nicest guys you ever meet. But
yeah. I had a
it happens.
You know how like on your photos on your phone it'll be like this happened like however many years ago.
Oh yeah.
So for me it was like 4 years ago, like today or yesterday was the first clinic I actually got to ride in with Buck.
Really?
Yeah. Because he always comes to the East Coast about this time of year.
Yeah.
So I like distinctly remember on the first day I wanted to talk to him and I wanted to be polite about it, but I had a ton of questions.
Yeah.
And so I was like, hey, like I caught him as he was coming out of the second session and I said, hey, I have a ton of questions for you and I'd really like to get them answered, but I want to be respectful of your time. When's the best time for me to talk to you about that? And he said, at like 7:45, I'm going to be at that horse trailer because this was, for whatever reason.
7:45 in the morning or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm going to be at that horse trailer. And he didn't have his like living quarters with him.
It was just his stock
trailer.
trailer.
Yeah, it was just him and Isaac with a stock trailer and like a pickup truck.
Yep.
And so he's like, I'm going to be at that trailer. Come and we'll sit here by the tack room and we can talk for half an hour and like do that. And that was awesome. And I was super excited. And it was kind of like this setup where there were like several different barns. And I like walk, I don't know, 300 yards down to where the barn was with my horse. And I went to open the stall door. My hand was going like that.
Oh, yeah.
Because I just was like, I didn't realize how nervous I was. And then I saw my hand and I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, I've had quite a few of those.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's kind of how it was the first time I met him.
Yeah.
It was, I met him back in 2016 and he was doing like a speech deal in the Bighorn Mountains of Sheridan. And everybody there was at least 60 or older, except for me and my parents. But they kind of all left. Everybody that was a little bit older. And so afterwards, it ended up being just like a one-on-one with him and I.
Oh, that's really cool.
It was kind of cool. I got to talk to him for a while, and so that was kind of neat. But
that's awesome, man.
Yeah.
So, like, what led up to that? Like, how invested were you in horsemanship at that point?
I was
talking with him.
I was committed.
Yeah.
I knew exactly what I wanted to do.
Because I got to spend a little time with you in Texas, and we were talking about, was Texas, right?
Yeah, it was Texas.
And,
well, that and Ellensburg.
But that was much more brief. Yeah. And you were talking about growing up in Nebraska.
Right.
And your family, kind of ranching family, and your dad and your mom, and kind of. So, like, when did you first get interested in horsemanship? Like, what?
Well, is when I watched the documentary. So if you want to hear that whole story, I can kind of tell you that.
Yeah. Oh, heck yeah.
So I was playing soccer in Fort Collins, Colorado. My parents were driving me back and forth 2 to 3 times a week, which is 2.5 hour drive. I was playing competitive soccer, 10 to 12 basically. I was playing pretty competitive soccer. And at the time, my cousins, and at that time, I guess, I had been riding horses and stuff on the weekend. You know, we were calving during that time, running cows and all that stuff. And so I was into horses, but it wasn't really my deal. I was like, yeah, you know, horses are cool. I originally wanted to be a vet. Yeah, this is kind of my deal. I'll ranch, but I want to vet, and then
everybody goes through that.
That's
phase.
What it is. Yeah,
it's the money. I think
we literally talked about it. Yeah,
but in the conversations I had with my parents, you know, they're like, well, you know, ranching's fine, but you got to have something else. Because like my dad, he's a high school principal also, so he does both. He's a full-time rancher and full-time principal.
Yeah.
So they're like, you ranch. You got to have a second job to pay for the ranching bills type deal, you know. That's kind of the running joke, but
totally get.
I was like, well, you know, the vet deal looks pretty good. I knew quite a few vets growing up because had a bunch come and preg check all of our cows and anything that got sick. So I got to know them pretty well, and I went and interned, you know, would travel with them for a day here and there. And I thought, well, that's it, you know, that's what I want to do. So horses were just kind of a side deal. I liked riding them. It was nothing like this. You just got on, got the job done, didn't really care how they felt, you know, how you felt. If you had a bad job, it was the horse's fault type deal, you know. It was never your fault. So, and that's what I thought, you know, up till it's age 12, which isn't that old. But so I watched the documentary on the way home from a soccer game. My cousin.
This was at age 12?
This was at age 12, yes. So my cousin sent me the documentary, and they said, you know, I think your older brother's going to look like him. You got to just check this out. It's a pretty cool horse documentary. I was like, all right. So I watched it on the way back. Well, I actually watched it twice in that whole same trip. I watched it the first time, and I was hooked. And I secretly told myself, I said, you know, I'm going to work for him someday. I didn't tell my parents, didn't tell anybody. I was like, I'm going to work for him someday. So flash forward. No, let's see. So then that summer, we were up in Sheridan. So we had some friends that were up there. And my parents or our friends knew of some people that knew where Buck lived. And so this is kind of stalkerish, I guess, you know. But my dad just drove me to his ranch. And,
I love it.
Yeah, so I was 12. My dad just drove me there, and I got to meet his wife, Mary. She was there, and she was awesome. She could have just said, get out of here type deal, but she's like, come on in. She showed us the whole place.
Wow, really?
Yeah, and actually the bay horse that he has with him was just a baby. It was just a...
Oh, Boozy?
Yeah, Boozy. Mm-hmm. So he was, just born, so I pet him for a little bit. And
no kidding.
And hung around, and then went over to the arena, and she showed us their indoor arena, and I got to meet his daughter, Riata. And then we go home, and 2 years later... he's doing this speech deal on the Bighorn Mountains, like I was just saying, and that's where I got to meet him for the first time. And he was, I talked to him for like 45 minutes. I'm a 14-year-old kid just asking all these questions I had in my head, you know. And then his wife, Mary, was there, and she asked, well, you know, what clinic do you want to get into? And I said, well, the colt starting at your ranch is the one I want to get into. Well, at that time, you had to have ridden with him before, had to have started a colt with him before. There's all these prerequisites. You had to be invited, basically. Mm-hmm. And she said, okay, you're in. And it was my first colt I ever started, first clinic I ever went to, first time I ever rode with him. And so,
sheesh.
Yeah, she's like, yeah, okay, you're in. I was like, well, sweet. You know, I was celebrating. And I went there. So then the following years when I got into it, it had been 2017. And so that's when I got into that clinic. And then started the colt, ended up being fine. I still have her at home, but let's see. Then each summer after that, or each time before the clinic, I would call Mary and say, hey, can I come and help you get set up for the clinic? And then the year after that, I was like, hey, can I help you take the stuff down afterwards too? So I just ended up staying a little bit longer each time. And then finally he's like, well, if he's just going to be here, might as well just offer him a job. So.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, that's kind of
That's
gist of it,
awesome,
but
man.
Yeah.
So, from where you were at, like how far was it from to Sheridan?
5 hours.
Okay,
About five and a half with the trailer.
Sure.
So, yeah.
sure, but not like not like driving around here.
Yeah, not like from West Virginia to No, 5.5 hours, pretty easy.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's great, man. That's awesome.
Yeah. So then, I got to the point where once I turned 16, I just drove up on my own.
Yeah.
So
That's great.
I was pretty blessed. My parents were able to. They just trusted me to do that, But,
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you could have been doing a whole slew
Lot
of other
worse,
things. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of ironic. It's funny, but my dad's a public principal, and all of his kids are homeschooled.
Really?
Yeah.
No kidding.
Yeah.
What
Yeah. Up until I wanted to play sports, so I went to high school. But
Okay.
yeah,
If you don't mind me asking, what prompted that?
he just saw all well, he's the disciplinary principal, so
Sure.
he saw everything that was bad. The drugs and all that stuff in Western Nebraska.
Yeah.
I mean, it's bad there. It's bad everywhere.
Yeah. Oh, I grew up in Appalachia, which is like they make TV shows about like the drugs and poverty here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The whites of West Virginia. That there was a show about.
Oh, yeah. Golly, man. No, I'm not from West Virginia. So
that. Yeah.
that's like that's quite the distinction. I mean, I'm sure Nebraska, it's like being from Kansas or something,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Or Missouri.
It's like, come on.
Or Missouri.
That's a lot worse.
Awful.
Yeah.
That's the worst state. We've clarified that.
Yeah, Ben and I talk about how like Missouri is our least favorite state because it's like if you're coming from anywhere in this part of the world west,
Yeah.
like once you hit Kansas, you're like, all right, now we're out here.
Mm-hmm.
But Missouri, getting across Missouri is just a grind, man.
Yeah.
It's awful.
Because it's still humid. Really
Yeah,
humid in the
Humid, cold.
just topographically and the plants there and everything it doesn't feel good. It's
No,
gross.
Yeah.
don't like being in Missouri.
No. All you Missourians, get out of there.
Yeah.
But
Just that's something we like to do on this podcast is alienate as many people as possible.
There you go, for ya.
well, it's motivation, right?
Yeah.
That, it's better to make a persuasive argument and we're persuading them
Yeah.
That they live in a
to
terrible
change
state.
their place to make
Yeah.
it better.
There you go.
But
Yeah.
so you work for them now.
I do.
And so,
Yeah.
because if anybody is listening to this thing,
we didn't
This is
introduce
Jakob
you very
Huck,
well.
and you're working for Buck now.
Yeah.
You're the guy on the road. So
I am.
you're coming up on what, 2? Is it been over 2 years now? That you're
This
like
is my
the guy?
second year.
You're in your second year with
Yeah.
him.
So
Yeah.
just over a year of
Just
time.
I kind of went. Yeah. I mean, last summer was technically the first time I ever traveled with him.
Cool.
There was a few times, 2008, 19. I went down to a Kiowa clinic and worked. Just kind of learned the ropes, if you will, a little bit. Kind of learned a few things, and Isaac was showing me what I need to do and what it takes. And then, but he wouldn't let me go on the road until I finished school.
Oh,
So that was a big deal. And so I guess I didn't really add this, but before I did not like school. I hated it. And I was good at school. It was easy for me, but I hated it. I was like, I have better things I could be doing. This is stupid. Why am I even here? And that was part of the reason I was homeschooled too. It's like I'd go do my classes, and then after that I'd go outside. I was outside riding horses or ranching, calving, all of that. And so my freshman year, I tested into a bunch of college classes that I could take. So I kind of got on the accelerated program, and I graduated as a junior from high school with my associate's degree. And then in May, I graduated with my bachelor's. So I was on the road. I finished on the road.
What'd you study?
I got my bachelor's in business administration with an emphasis on agribusiness. So it was kind of like a hybrid between a management and a marketing.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
And what was the thinking behind that? Just want to run a horse business one day? Or?
Yeah, I feel like you can't go wrong with a business degree. And
I'd agree. Yeah.
That's kind of what fit me, entrepreneur type stuff.
Yeah.
But
That's what I minored in was ag econ.
yeah, and I didn't
anything
really,
in that realm is a good thing to know.
yeah, I mean there's endless deals. You can go and do that, but I don't really think I'll ever. I mean, there's certain classes that, like all the accounting classes, I found I really liked those. It made sense to me. Because I'm like, well, if I'm going to be running my business, I don't know how to do this stuff.
Yeah.
So there was that stuff that was pretty valuable. Then there's all the other classes where it's like, yeah, you jump through that hoop type deal. You know, it's like, yeah, that was a joke, but whatever.
Yeah.
I didn't want to go to college, but I saw that as kind of like dangling the carrot. You know, you can come work for me, but you got to finish. You got to get your degree.
Yeah.
So that's why
at this point, if you make it out of there with the right pronouns, I think that's a success.
Yeah, and luckily the college I went to, we didn't really have that problem. It was an ag school. It's Chadron State.
Yeah,
just right on the border of Nebraska and South Dakota. So I mean,
that's where Danny Woodhead went to school.
Yep.
Yeah.
Danny Woodhead. Mm-hmm.
And who's the other person?
Don Beebe.
Yeah, but there's a governor? The guy who's like the governor of one of those up north states, like Minnesota or something. He went to that school. Anyway,
I don't know.
Don't worry, it's not important.
That's a fact that I do not know about.
Okay, but yeah, Danny Woodhead's the first person I think about.
Yeah, he went to Chadron. Yep.
Yeah.
I was going to be surprised if you remembered that guy's name because you couldn't remember the governor of Virginia's name.
Man,
so I was like, man, he remembers that guy's name.
That guy's more
you need to
important
say
me
what
than
you
the
need to
governor
do
of
is when you
Virginia.
think of his name, think of it, picture his face, and then say ding. And then all you have to do is think of ding, and you'll remember.
I'll think of some other one-syllable word.
Somebody that
Describe
remembers
that
everything
guy.
told me that.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Cool. So on this session, I guess you'd say, so how long have you been living out of that trailer right now?
Since February. Since beginning of February.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah,
So that has to be an enormous adjustment.
Yeah. It was and it was. I mean, I did it all summer last year.
Mm-hmm.
With one guy, it's pretty feasible, but Isaac and I did it all summer. That's a bit tight.
Yeah. Yeah. I
And
bet.
there's 2 beds and stuff, but it's just a bit tight because we have all the saddles. We have 6 saddles and all of our personal bags, with clothes and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
no, it's all good.
So when there's one, I just think this is interesting. When there's one guy, and obviously you're traveling around with Buck, but there is that, and he's like a mentor and a friend, I'm
Absolutely,
sure. But it's also like the relationship of like, this is the person I'm working for.
Mm-hmm.
So you're surrounded by people all the time. Do you ever feel like you're lonely at all, though?
No,
That's
not
good.
really. Yeah,
That's good.
I don't really feel like I'm. I mean, I enjoy what I do, and
Yeah.
it is what. But
Yeah.
I don't really ever feel lonely.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
I just imagine, because like when you go from town to town to town to town, like
It's not as romantic as it may seem.
right, and I imagine people can start to feel more disposable.
Yeah.
Like not trying to discount the people coming to the clinics,
exactly.
but like you just get the rep. So, for example, before I went full time with horses, I was a consultant. I worked in
Gotcha.
software, and so I was pre-COVID. I was on like the road a bunch.
Yeah.
And it was just this client, this client, this client.
Yeah.
And when human interactions are a dime a dozen, they just start to lose their value a little
Right.
bit.
Yeah. It just comes monotonous and that
Yeah.
type of deal. No, I try not to ever. I try to be engaged with everybody I come across with.
Mm-hmm.
It's part of the deal. That's
it's your
part
job.
of being. That's my job.
Yeah.
Yeah. Really, my job is to make Buck's life easier. That's really what it comes down to. So.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I'm sure it's a lot easier because you're doing something you're so passionate about.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. That does make it a lot easier. I mean, it would be tough.
Yeah.
If it wasn't something I was passionate about, I mean,
Yeah.
I wouldn't be in this I wouldn't be here.
You couldn't live out of a trailer for however many months you've been doing it, 8
yeah,
months.
8
Yeah.
months, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, really, in the situation you're in, you're placed in a great opportunity to practice a lot of great skills, communication
Absolutely.
skills, and
a lot of people skills.
meeting new people all the time.
Yeah.
That's,
Absolutely.
I mean, that's a cool opportunity aside
It
from
is.
just
I mean,
horses itself.
Yeah.
The travel and the opportunity to make these like new acquaintances, new connections, renewing old connections
Yeah.
constantly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like the old saying, but my dad always told me, you only get one chance to make a first impression. So I try to do that with, everybody I meet. Everybody. I try to be focused in on them, and I may not have all the time I could talk to them. I'm always running around. Usually, if you see me at a clinic, I'm usually running.
Yeah.
Because it's, you got to be 10 steps ahead.
Yeah.
Deal, especially when you're by yourself.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
So, like, are you reading anything on the road or watching anything? Or
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm pretty spiritual, so I always read my Bible.
Yeah.
That's kind of the first thing I read. And then I got a couple other books. I got Ray Hunt's book that I'm reading right now. I think it's In Harmony.
Yeah.
I might not, but yeah, I've got a few of those things, and I listen to podcasts.
Yeah.
There's a book I'm listening to. It's called The 48 Laws of Power.
Yeah.
Pretty interesting.
Who's that by?
Robert Greene.
I've read that book.
Have you? Mm-hmm. Yeah, where it like lists gives like the definition of a power, basically, or a power, and then it describes how it was used in a good way and used in a bad way, and they're like real life scenarios type deal.
Yeah, that
pretty interesting book.
That book will get you overthinking a lot of your interactions with people.
I try not to be like, yeah. I mean, I don't really apply it. There's certain things you can apply, but. It's there's
almost,
some bad. I mean, you can use it in a bad way.
Right. It's like studying the dark side of the force. You're like, you need to know it's there, but never use it.
Yeah, exactly. It's just mental deals. Like, well, I have that as an option.
Yeah.
That's how you think. It's like, push comes to shove.
That's something I wanted to ask you about because like as for myself anyway, especially in the last probably year and a half, like I've gotten more serious about my faith, and I've joined a church near us, and like that's important to me.
Absolutely.
So if I was on the road like you, like that would make a difference to me, honestly, and especially like I'm in a relationship, and there's a lot of stuff. Do you like make it to church much, or what do you do for that at all?
No, I don't make it.
Does that bother you at all, or?
Yes and no. At first it kind of did, but I didn't really go to church all that much. I mean, I watched a lot of online church, but I mean, every clinic is on Sunday. Yeah. So that's hard to even take time because I got to be focused on him. If he needs me during the clinic, I can't be just sitting here watching an online church while he's teaching. But it is. But when I go home, I think God will be understanding.
Yeah.
As to why, I'm pretty sure he'll be understanding to that. So
yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, you have a great being at the clinic is pretty cool in itself.
Exactly. Yeah.
And because for me, it's like the sense of community, like because I'm kind of by myself a lot. Yeah. And then the people I'm with, well, a lot of times, and Joe, you might feel that way, even though we meet a lot of people throughout the week, working with people, just in passing. Sometimes you feel like you're not like I'm great or anything, like.
No,
I'm an idiot, but you do kind of feel like you're nurturing a lot of people as you go through your week. Like people needs, if it's simple stuff, like, hey, can you get me this number? Can you just constantly asking you to do things, and you feel like a servant kind of throughout the week. So it's not like I don't have interaction. Yeah, but I kind of feel like I do a lot of things more just business like. Yeah. So I like Sunday.
Yeah, it's a good
where I
day
just
to
like hang out
and
see people and like-minded people or sit around and
like when I'm off the road, that is my day of rest. Yeah. So I'll go to church and then that is my day of rest. Yeah. Horses need a day of rest too. I think they need something to a day to soak up everything that you've been working with on them. So
yeah, totally agree.
Kind of the way I look at it.
Cool. So one of the things you've done too, Ben was telling me about this. I guess you did really well at the Pro-Am last year.
Yeah, I was pretty fortunate. I had a really good team. We got first place. Yeah, we won.
Yeah,
I had Wes and Cody Roy. And I couldn't have been asked for a better team. They were awesome to rope with. So it was pretty cool.
Cool. So, and I feel like people listening would be interested in this. I don't really know the format of the Pro-Am. Like I understand the concept of like how the Pro-Am part of it works, but as far as the competition through the 4 days or whatever it is, can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So the first day they do, last year was the first time they did a team branding. So that was teams of 4. You roped 4 head. Mm-hmm. And so you had 2 guys on the ground and 2 guys heading and heeling. And you had to do, I think it was, we put the stickers on, we put the numbers on them for the day so that we could rope them the next day. And then once you roped your first 2, the 2 guys that were on the ground got on their horses and they went and roped the last 2. So that's what they did the first day. And then Friday, Saturday, Sunday is the ranch roping. So with each team, you rope 2 head. Let's say they take half the teams on Friday and half the teams on Saturday. So let's say you go on Friday, you rope 2 head. I think that's how it works. Honestly, I don't know like the whole judging deal, but you rope 2. If I remember right, you rope 2 head. Do you do them
back to back or like?
It depends on how you're drawing. You could draw back to back, or
so you draw like times or like.
I don't really know. They do it like an Excel spreadsheet type deal, and then you just you're getting a number, and then like just go down the line, and then
a rolling schedule.
Yeah, and if somebody's in the other arena, because there's 2 arenas going, so if somebody's in the other arena, they just roll that team to the following one, or something like that.
Okay, I'm tracking now.
Yeah, so I guess you do rope 2 head back to back. Yes.
Okay.
But it's not like you rope one and then go to the other arena and rope another one.
Okay, so it wouldn't be like we got to rope our first one, and then an hour and a half from now we're going to come back and rope our second one.
I'm pretty sure no.
Okay, cool.
I don't even remember. Isn't that terrible?
No
Isn't that terrible?
Just showed up.
I just showed up and roped. Yeah.
Okay, so
they told me to rope.
Clearly,
I roped.
Understanding the format is not a key to winning.
Yeah. You can pull up the rules on the website now.
Oh, that's so cool. No, I'm curious because I haven't really been around that type of thing.
I can tell you on Sunday you rope 4 head.
Okay.
So you rope 2 in one arena, and then you rope 2 in the other arena.
Gotcha. And then is it basically from the 6 head a combined score? Or?
No, on Sunday it's clean slate.
Okay.
So they take the
Makes
top
sense.
50 teams from Friday and Saturday, and then Sunday you start off with a clean slate.
Cool.
So, yeah, we did really well on Sunday.
So
that was all you have to do is get to Sunday. That's the biggest deal.
Yeah. It's like playoffs in the NFL. Like once you get there, then you just got to like win 4 games.
Win 4 games. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I got
Similar but different.
Yeah. You got to rope 4 steers.
Yeah.
Don't they do that in like? They don't do that, but they do something in golf where like one of the tournaments recently. I don't know much about it, but someone was telling me about it, and like everybody that won the previous tournament, when you show up the next weekend, like the winner starts
Cup.
like
I think it's the FedEx Cup.
Like starts like 10 under or something.
Right.
The next guy's like 5 under, and
no, it's
but like they
10,
give you
9, 8, 7, 6,
like
all the way
a
down to
handicap
0.
for winning.
Correct.
That's nuts.
Yeah, so you're guaranteed. Well, the guy that comes in first place the week before starts 10 under, and then the next guy it's 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. 4,
Doesn't that
all the way down
seem
to
a
0.
little skanky? Like I'd be going to live golf if I were those guys. Because like if I was a guy, like if I came in like 3rd and I'd had a bad day, and this the next week I'd feel like I should be even with everyone else.
Yeah, but the guy who won it didn't start with 10 strokes under. Rory McIlroy won, so
yeah.
Oh, I mean, if everyone's playing by the same
why do you think
rules,
they do that though?
I honestly don't know. I don't follow golf that much.
You know why they do it,
I
Ben?
golf, but
Why?
Because we're sitting here talking about it. We've never
Exactly,
brought
and
up
then we're just-
pro golf.
Now that's kind of a lofty thought there, Joe.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
It's an entertainment thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's all any professional sport is. So they're just gonna format the rules to be the most entertaining they can.
Yeah. I guess. I
Try to
just
change it
thought
up,
that was. I was like, man, that would.
It is
if I was
weird to
playing
me.
golf, that'd irritate me.
Yeah, I mean, go ahead, Jacob.
What I think really what it does is it really makes that previous tournament very valuable because they all the guys are playing for those top 10 spots
That makes sense.
or 9.
So it really ties those two tournaments together. It gives it a lot of meaning
Right.
to like.
I mean,
To do
as a
well
FedEx,
in the first.
that's a big paycheck.
Yeah.
I don't know how it's a couple million,
At
maybe,
least.
maybe more than that. I don't know for sure, but it's a lot.
Yeah.
When you're playing for millions of dollars on golf, you get pretty serious. Take as long as you want.
Yeah. And they always have the things afterwards that like, so and so's in 3rd and then he misses a putt and then goes down to 7th.
Yeah.
And it's like you just lost like $350,000 with that one stroke.
Yeah, there's a lot to it. I don't
gosh.
follow it as much. But
Yeah.
not as much as Buck. He follows it quite a bit.
Yeah. Man, nerves of steel.
Yeah.
Be out there. That or you just don't care about money or
Isn't
people
that-
anymore.
Isn't that funny that a horseman like that, and he's like, nope, got to be in a hurry when I'm playing golf.
Yeah.
Why do
Well,
you think he's in a hurry?
Not in a hurry, but he doesn't waste any time. So I wouldn't say he's rushing. No, it's more of there's no wasted time. He doesn't walk up to the ball and then turn around and have a conversation with you and then hit.
Yeah.
And then go back to his cart, wipe off his club, which he does that, but it's not drug out. It's not, just kind of moping around.
That's nice.
It's on the move.
Well, because some people really commiserate after they hit a bad shot, too. They stand there for a while.
Right.
And they're like, "Rrr."
And that's the deal. We've talked about this quite a bit. We're amateurs, so we don't have millions of dollars on the line. We're going to live another day type deal, We have other things to look forward to.
That's a good attitude.
Because otherwise, that's
So does he talk
compete.
much at all on the golf course, or is he just like golfing?
No, he talks.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not like you're just another wheel, just along for the ride type deal. No, you're.
I wasn't thinking about it more. I was just, when you said there's not all this kind of extracurricular stuff. Easy.
Oh.
He's not doing all this extra stuff. I almost wonder if at that point it's more like a meditative thing.
Yeah, kind of his deal to. Yeah, that's his new. He's been golfing for like 10 years or something like that. So.
You see that a lot, especially in sports. It's like some people sit there at the free throw line and bounce and bounce and bounce, and then other people get the ball and shoot.
Yeah.
And it's just like whatever you need to do to do it correctly.
You got to find your game. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and the biggest deal with the fast golf, if you will, he stays in rhythm.
Yeah.
He's a big rhythm guy. You got to stay, and I'm right there with him. You got to stay in rhythm. So when there's somebody in front of us that's slowing him down, you have to wait 5 minutes to take your second shot or something. He doesn't. He goes like, I get out of my rhythm. He doesn't play as good. So
that makes sense.
Yeah, that's the biggest deal, I guess, for the faster golf. You hit your first shot, go hit your second shot. You're not sitting there for 5 minutes waiting to hit another shot because you have a group of 4 in front of you that takes forever.
What's your favorite club?
Golf
to use, yeah.
Like,
for
what's
horses.
Your favorite thing?
No. I mean, like a golf course.
No, horses. We'll get to that in a second because I know you have a horse club.
No, that's a baseball bat. No.
Yeah, that's for like the real bad ones where Buck's like Jacob. Work with, but go
Take
over to
this
that
one
other
behind the bar.
Go behind.
Take him back.
No.
Get my get the treats out of the truck.
Probably a 7
You know what I mean? Yeah,
probably a
7 iron. Classic.
Sounds good.
Classy guy.
Pretty classic.
Yeah.
What's your worst? What's the one that you're like, I got to use that one?
I don't know. I don't know. I guess I'm kind of a psychotic golfer. Some days I play them all great. Some days I play them all bad. So.
What about like your hybrids? You like those?
I honestly don't even have hybrids. I have
do you ever like borrow one?
I like this guy. I think hybrids are so dumb.
Those things are awesome.
No,
like,
I
feel like
so
a hybrid is like when someone's like, "Hey, you want to take my like Corvette down to the corner store?" And like you're like, "Oh yeah," you hop in that thing. At least the ones that I've used, it's like, "Oh, I get to use a hybrid," and you can send that thing.
Yeah, they're pretty
something
they're
about
pretty
it.
forgiving. That's what it is. The sweet spot's pretty big.
Yeah.
But, like I know everything about golf, but that's
all I know is that.
All
I know is that it really sucks most of the time. So when you do finally hit it, you kind of just want to go home.
And that's what keeps you going. That's what keeps you going back to golf. It's like you have that one good shot. It's like,
isn't that crazy?
Yeah, who knew?
Yeah, I have hardly played at all, but I've played just enough to really think I hate it like a lot. And I'm like, I'm just here to be social.
Yeah.
And this is terrible. And then I'll hit one shot, and I'm like, man, I should do this.
Yeah.
And then I go buy some gear and get some shirts. And
it's an expensive hobby.
No kidding.
Yeah.
I mean, expensive. It can get really pricey.
I golfed not a lot, but I lived with some big golfers in college. Mm-hmm. And then my golf career pretty much ended when I graduated and I got in the real world, and it was like, well, I could either have horses or golf.
Yeah.
And I can't afford to do both right now.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pricey.
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, I think to me, though, like golf is a little bit fun in the moment, but it's not something I want to do. Like, I don't really want to go golf.
Exactly.
It's just fun when I'm, like, those couple shots are like
you don't
good enough that you're like, wow, this is really great.
I never want to go play by myself.
I just want to go do it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd only want to go if somebody else was going.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of like you guys said, a social deal. You can be social.
Absolutely.
So that's, yeah, it's kind of a time to just relax, if you will. I mean, you're playing a game, but
Yeah.
it's a way to kind of just let off.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Back to roping.
Yeah.
So did you grow up roping?
Kind of. My dad kind of showed me the basics. Nothing this style. It was, rubber on the horn, and there's nothing wrong with that. But no long ropes. It was about 30-foot ropes, and you got them caught.
Yeah.
I got pretty good at catching, and then once I met Buck and watched some of his videos, I was like, that's what I'm gonna do. So
yeah,
I practiced every day.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's crazy. I couldn't believe we won. It was pretty cool.
Yeah,
pretty blessed to have the team I did. So
yeah, that's great.
Yeah,
and I assume you'll be going back this coming year.
Going back.
Yeah. Defend the title.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
Cool.
So how do you know who you're going to rope with? Do you know yet?
I don't at the moment. We'll see. I'll see when I get there.
You don't have any suitors?
No, I have a couple guys lined up, but
yeah. I imagine if you won, it becomes more attractive to rope with you.
Right, but and the tough deal. I mean, the prices of everything, people even being able to go.
Yeah, a diesel and all that.
Everything, yeah. It's not.
Yeah,
it hurts to fill up your truck.
Yeah. Well, I know, like, it's on my bucket list to go one year. I don't consider myself like much of a roper, but I'd love to go out and just do the whole deal.
Yeah.
But I know, like, if the roping was in Nebraska, I could do it like every other year. But
right.
California's kind of
that's a jaunt for being in Virginia.
Yeah, or like a once in a decade thing.
Yeah, that's a tough deal.
Yeah, I was talking to Alicia Landman because she did it from Tennessee.
She did it, yeah.
But it was like a 2-week commitment, just like getting out there, letting the horse settle, doing the deal, then let him settle again, then coming back.
Yeah,
so it's a lot.
It is a lot.
Yeah,
that is a long way. Yeah, I remember her. Yeah, she was there last year.
Yep. Yeah, we talked about that on the podcast a little bit, and then I talked about it a little bit off air. But
yeah, unless you're making your living doing that, like just roping, like you look at all those rodeo guys, they're going all over the country. But
yeah,
it's tough when you have a real job.
Yeah, absolutely.
Something has to pay the bills.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
but no, that's awesome, man. That's really cool, and that's something you carry forever.
Exactly. Yeah, it was a pretty cool moment. And I'd met Wes for Ozzy at the first clinic I ever went to.
Okay, great.
So that's where I met him, and then we become really good friends. So
that's probably really cool for him.
Yeah, he was pretty happy about that too. Yeah. The first time I met him, I was 15. I weighed like 110 pounds. I was about that big. I was a tiny little guy. You guys see the pictures of me at the first colt starting. I barely made it over halfway of the fence. It's like a 6 foot. I was about, I don't know. It's like a 6.5 foot fence, 7 foot fence, and I couldn't even get the saddle up on the fence. I was so small. Saddle weighed about half my weight.
What was the colt like you were starting?
Pretty easy.
Yeah.
Pretty gentle. Thank goodness. Yeah, I got along just fine. Worked out really good. I was swinging my rope on her at the clinic, and
that's great.
Had a blast. But yeah, it was fun.
That's awesome.
I'll always remember.
So, what's it been like being able to take a horse on the road? I bet that's been pretty rewarding.
Yeah, pretty awesome. I didn't have one this spring, so he had 4 horses on the road, and then one of his horses got hurt, so he left him at home, and then he let me take a horse on the road, and it's nice because I get to see, I watch stuff, see stuff in the clinic, and then I go and work on it either before the clinic or late at nights. I've done a lot of late night riding, so
sure,
that's kind of when I do my riding. I sit there and watch and see if there any other horses, or I like to study other horses, because it's like if I was on that horse, what would I do type deal. So then I just have a little picture in my head what I want to work on with my horse, and kind of go from there.
Yeah. So talk a little bit about the horse you have here.
So she's a 3-year-old this year. I got her from Amy Lantis, who's up in Spearfish, South Dakota, has 7 Downs Arena.
And I've been up there.
You've been up there? Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I was starting a bunch of colts with Isaac it had been September. Mm-hmm. So we both got off the road, and I went to college, and like college was like 2 hours and 20 minutes. I had it timed because I went up there a lot. So that month of September, I was up there. I'd drive up every weekend. And I was just riding colts for her. And
Gotcha.
Isaac was up there, and there was like 24 colts that we were riding.
Nice.
Isaac, Kit, and I, and then they left, so I just stayed on and kept riding them all fall and into the winter. And she was one of the touchier, tougher ones. And Amy's like, well, what, I think that one should just be yours. So she gave her to me. So
That's
it's
awesome.
pretty cool. Yeah, I love that horse. She's awesome. I learned so much from her. And it's pretty cool to have her. So
That's great, man.
yeah, so she's awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Do you feel, this is like a theory I've had, and I've seen it like hauling horses to the stuff I do. Now that like her reality is kind of like a different stall every week, do you feel like she's really started to get kind of dialed because you're more of the consistency in her life?
Oh yeah, she's solid now.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's got way solid. When we went home, because a majority of the California clinics got canceled because of the EHV, the equine herpes virus. So they got canceled, and we went home for 2.5 weeks. And so I ran home and grabbed my horses, and I was just riding during the winter, just rode all April or for a couple of weeks. And I had about, 45 days on her or so. And then put about another 10 days on her, and then I went back to California. We did 2 clinics there, and then a clinic in Colorado and Spearfish, and then we came home. So when we got back in June, I went back and picked her up, and she's been solid ever since June. She kind of picked up right how I left her in April. So
that's great.
Kind of good, yeah.
That's great, man.
Yeah. But
back to, you were talking about learning and like how you watch other horses, and you obviously watch Buck in the clinics.
Yeah.
For you, do you feel like you learn a lot that way by trying to watch and then imitate?
Yeah, that's kind of how. There's
try to like feel your way. I don't know how to describe it, but that just resonated with me when you said that. When you're watching and you see it, and you're like, I need to embody that. When it's like someone like Buck, or when it's someone else, you're like, that happens for that person. I don't want that to happen for me.
Right.
What are they doing?
Exactly. Yeah. And yeah, that's the biggest deal for me. I try to just really focus in on, what he's doing, or, I just really focus in on that and then work on that with my horse. But the biggest deal for me is how they are mentally. They have to be mentally good. If they're not mentally good, there's not why are we doing it? That's the whole point of this whole horsemanship deal. You want to create a friend, right? Well, if they're not mentally good or doing it in a good frame of mind, sure, you may get it done mechanically. Sure, you may get them to move their hindquarters, or you may give them to move their front quarters, but if you have to spur them every time to get one step, that's pointless. So it's, how light you can do it, how little you can offer, and they take you up on it. It's like Ray Hunt always said, it's the slightest change and the slightest try.
Yeah.
So you reward that. So.
Yeah, I was listening to something on the way up here today, and it was kind of different. It was more about like society, but it made me think of horses because they were talking about basically like wanting to change something.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're trying to change something, like we're trying to make our horses different, and so tackling a new project, seeing it as a dragon, seeing it as a mountain atop, and then trying to gauge how much to bite off, and it's kind of cool because, the guy was saying there's a certain point where if you're aware of yourself, you'll realize you start becoming like totalitarian. Mm-hmm. And that's where you bit off too much, because if you can't stay persuasive, you get to a point where now you're just a communist, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
And you've bitten off more than you can chew, so you need to go back and find a new...
You got to reword
that. Mm-hmm. And then if you can't get that done, do it again. And it just started making me think about that. Like you were just saying, it's almost like, if you've gone beyond just being persuasive and keeping your horse in a good frame of mind, You've bitten off too much.
Way too much. Got to go back. Yeah.
It was a neat way of explaining it, and I thought, wow.
And that's one of the toughest deals, too, is knowing how much to ask, but how much is too little or how much is too much. There's a fine line there. You know, too little, you're not getting anything done. Too much, well, then they're cranky because it's like, well, we haven't even practiced. We haven't even done step 8, you know, and you're trying to do step 10. Yeah. You know, something like that.
Yeah.
That's just a little, that's the biggest deal. So.
Yeah.
And sometimes you don't know where the edge is until you've gone over
exactly. And it's like, oh, whoops, I'm sorry. And then you should apologize and start over the next day.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to do that.
Yeah. Because, that's what made me think of it, though, because you were saying then your horse, you know, then he's not in a good frame of mind.
Yeah.
So you just can't get anything done. But it's not even just him, it's you. Like, you're chewed up and spit out.
Yeah,
you're done.
Exactly.
You're cooked. Like, you're in over your head. You're drowning. So it's not even just he's over his head. You're over your head.
Yeah, you're over your head. And then,
in fact, you're over your head, and now you've taken him out into the deep water. So it's like that mindset when we first started talking. You were saying when you were a kid, it was always the horse's fault. Mm-hmm. And now it's like your mindset changes.
Like,
to where you're always thinking, what did I do?
Yeah.
What's my problem?
Yeah, that's what I'm constantly thinking. And the tough deal is how little it takes, actually. And I'm still trying to find that, you know, but it doesn't take very much with a lot of it. You know, I just this morning, I was watching I found a ray hunt video in Buck's trailer, so I put that in and watched it. And just effortless for those, you know, it's like, gosh, dang, this is easy. But if it was easy, everybody'd be doing this. You know, everybody would be, you know, doing, you know, have really handy horses. But that's not the case.
Yeah.
The majority of people don't have handy horses, but that's why it's considered a fine art, really.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
they have to be in a good frame of mind. If they're not in a good frame of mind, sure, you may get it done mechanically, but they won't remember it the next day, or it may take you longer. Mm-hmm. You know, they're crabby when you do something or whatever you may be asking. It's more, it just takes them forever. I mean, you think if you're in a bad frame of mind, I tell you have to have this memorized, or something, it's gonna take you a long time. Whereas if you're in a good frame of mind, you're probably gonna have that memorized pretty quickly. So
yeah,
that's kind of how it is. It's the same with teachers, you know, teaching kids. If they're just beating them in like, well, you're terrible, you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah.
And then saying, you know, you need to have this, doesn't work that way. At least the way I see it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it totally makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Do you see people, because like you were talking about, there's a balance and stuff. And I think the classic example that I'm sure we've all seen and probably all done is you go way too far over the edge and like, okay, everything just came unwound. And then I'm sure going to the clinics, you see the other extreme too, where maybe the horse is in a good frame of mind, but you're not really getting anything done.
For sure.
Because I've found it's probably a 50-50 split, honestly.
Yes.
If you're not somewhere in the sweet spot.
That's what I mean. That's why I say it's a fine line.
Yeah.
There's a fine line between too little or too much.
Yeah.
Yeah, you see a lot of horses that are that way where they're in a good frame of mind, but there's nothing going on, or they're in a good frame of they're in a bad frame of mind and nothing's going on.
Yeah.
They have nothing there. The horse is just aggravated and pissed off.
Yeah.
So
it's funny. To me, it's always like, how do I keep them in the sweet spot?
And then there's some times where you focus so much on it that it makes it worse. For me, that's what I've noticed about myself. It's like I'm focusing so much on keeping her in a good frame of mind, I almost make her the horse gets worse as the ride goes on. It's like, what am I doing wrong? Mm-hmm. But there comes a point where it's like, well, you got to just ride.
Yeah.
There's a little of that. I'm not saying you do that every day, but
mm-hmm. It'd be like having a significant other that's always asking you how you're feeling. Are you okay?
Exactly.
You doing okay?
Yeah.
It's like,
leave me alone.
Let's just go to dinner and just have a normal conversation.
And that's you got to give the horse a job to do.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
Yeah. It's interesting stuff. It's fun.
Oh, and
it's awesome.
And like Ben was saying, like the position you're in, just to see so many different people in so many different situations.
Horses, yes.
And not only that, but then have Buck Brannaman be able to kind of diagnose and say, well, now this is what you ought to do. And
yes.
Like that's where like the true value in what you're doing right now is coming from. So that's awesome.
It's pretty cool. Pretty blessed.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. I think, Joe, we've probably had this conversation where maybe a little bit. I know I've had it with other people where we talk about, man, I wish we lived back in the day when Buck first started doing clinics.
Yeah.
And he was young and we could have been around him and gone and seen Ray.
Yeah.
And yes, at the same time, I was just thinking, because I was going to mention, I know I check out the Buck channel a lot. That's super handy.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll like watch it in the morning sometimes, click it on, have your coffee.
Yep.
Be like, oh, that's a new one. I'll watch that. So in a sense, it would have been nice to be around back then, but we're super lucky to have it now, though, too.
Exactly.
Because now we have him online.
Yeah, and you got to.
And that's a tremendous resource to be able to click that on and watch a little video and just totally be brought right back. And I know for me, it's always it's more of the spirit and the way he works with the horse.
Right.
Of course, there's some mechanics in there where you go, whoa, been missing that.
Yeah,
Or I never saw that. That's a common one, right? I never heard that. He's been saying it for 40 years before I was born, but the spirit and the way he works with a horse, and it just kind of sets your day.
Yeah, it's how you are mentally too, how you are spiritually, how you go about your horse. That really matters. That's the biggest thing. That's one of the biggest things for me.
What's something like right now, like something that you feel like kind of a breakthrough that's fresh in your mind you've been working on that it's new to you with horses?
I would say the mental deal. For the longest time, I wasn't really afraid of, or stumped with I guess I'd be stumped with a horse or something, but it was more of like, well, I will get this done type deal. Instead of looking at it as like, well, how can I do this and keep them in a good frame of mind so that they enjoy it. They'd rather be with me than back in their pen with other horses type deal. So that's been the biggest thing for me is keeping them in a good frame of mind. That has been my biggest focus. The biggest breakthrough is keeping that, just because for just a year or two ago, it was like, yeah, I'll ride you, and if you don't do it, I'll make you do it.
Yeah,
I can kick harder, or I can use the tail of my McCarty. We'll get this done.
Yeah.
So
they'll figure it out.
The biggest change in me. I really don't care how you feel afterward, but you're gonna freaking do it type deal.
Yeah.
When I say turn, you turn.
Teaching them how the West was won right here, boys.
Exactly. Whip and spur, baby.
Yeah. Well, that's like we talked about that with Robbie. That thing where after a clinic or after you learn something, it's terrible with your horse. And I know I'd be sitting in clinics thinking, oh boy, this is some new stuff. I don't know how to do it. I'm going to ride the snot out of this thing when I get home. And it's like kind of that thing where you're like, I'm going to ride it. And if you can't get it, you'll just get it.
Be a big problem.
Time will work it into your, and even at the back of your head, you're like, I want it to be soft and I want it to be your idea. But maybe if I can just get him to do it and then he'll like it after a while.
Yeah.
You're like, whatever I can do to get this thing broke.
Exactly. Yes.
But it's funny because we're trying to do it. Like, we're not trying to do it like mechanical horseman. You're still trying to do it the right way, but you're like, but I'm just not that good yet. So I'm just gonna.
Or you often
he'll practice it. He'll get it.
Yeah,
it'll look good.
See the picture, of Buck riding around or somebody really handy that has their horse really broke.
Yeah,
and you're like, well, I'll work on this for a little bit, and then I gotta have you bridled up, soft feel, all that stuff. It's like, well, they're not even ready for that.
Yeah, you think, man, I hope there's a good photographer there that knows how to catch a good still. Yeah. Hope they get it at the right time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. They go through 10,000 photos. Like, oh, there's one good one right there. Found one.
Yep.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Exactly. No, I think that's a really good point. And I know something that I struggle with and always, like, I go back and forth on this, is you have to keep them in a good frame of mind. But then I definitely had it when I first got into this deal. It was like, man, if I just stayed at this for like 30 more seconds.
Yes.
And then I could be done. And then like the big change would come, right? So it's like taking that experience, like obviously like what you're saying is you don't want to force them into something.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're trying, like something super basic, like get the hindquarters on the ground.
Yes.
It's like, well, do I need to go about this a different way? Or do I need to hang in here for like 30 more seconds? And then it'll all, and it could be.
And then you're there for another 2 hours.
Yeah, exactly.
You're trying to rebuild the wall you just tore down.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so that's like always my thought. And, it's like we were talking about at the very beginning. You just need your reps, and you don't know until it's happened, and you're like, well, there you go.
Well, you need experience. That's the deal. And,
exactly.
You need to practice.
Yeah.
Practice is huge. So that's
yeah.
why we're doing this.
Yeah. And
Get
then
better.
And then eventually you get it, and maybe the next cold will go smoother.
Exactly. And then for the longest time, that's kind of how I looked at it. I remember talking to Isaac. I called him one time, and I was like, did I, like, ruin my horse? I was like, she ruined, like, I'll never be able to get this stuff. He's like, no. But you have to look at it this way, to where this colt or this horse is taking one for the team. So your next one,
yeah.
Honestly.
No, you're absolutely
your next
right.
one,
that's why it's
you
funny.
won't make the same mistakes you made on this one, but you'll be making new mistakes.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then on the next one, you won't make the mistakes you made on the second one, but you have new ones on that third one, or whatever it is. And that's how it is with each horse. So then you just get better and better and better and better and better.
Yeah.
But it never stops. You're never. It's never done until as soon as you stop learning or you think you know it all. You might as well move on to something else. Go golf.
Yeah.
Do something different.
To me, that's the only reason it's worthwhile is because you can't get to the mountaintop.
There is no, yeah.
Like if it was one of these deals where it was like, for example, you have won the Buck Brannaman Pro-Am, you have won horsemanship. There are no more Titans left to slay.
Exactly, yeah.
You can go home, Jacob. Like if it was like that, I wouldn't even want to do it in the first place.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody really would.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a select few, but
that's why it's worth doing, is because there is no mountaintop. You can just always get better.
Yeah, you think you see the mountaintop, and then as you get a little closer, it just keeps.
Yeah.
Fog moves away, and you see another level.
You see like 3 more peaks, and you're like, oh.
And you keep going. There's more peaks revealed. And
yeah.
It's constantly like that, but that's the fun part. That's what makes it fun.
Totally agree.
Yeah. No.
Yeah, I wish Bill just told me a quote the other night his granddad used to say, and I wish I could remember it. Maybe I'll think of it, but it was about the mountaintop, and when you look back. But that reminds me, like probably about a year ago, I got in the truck with Bill. We were heading home from somewhere, and I remember telling him, I think I just figured out that I'm going to have to fail a lot at this. And he was like, yeah, it's tough, isn't it? And I was like, no, it's great. I'm going to start failing as much as I can. I can't wait to get home and start failing because I think, I know I got to get as many failures under my belt as possible.
Yeah.
And that helped me look at it that way. You just be like, oh, I need to start failing.
Yeah.
Like, and love it. And just embrace the suck, as they say. Fail.
Exactly.
Go for it.
I saw a quote the other day. It was something similar to that. And this isn't exactly how it went, but it was referring to like Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant. And they said they were the greatest failures of all time.
Yeah.
Because they failed more than any of the other players, but that's why they succeeded, because there was all those little failures that they learned from the experience. That's what it was.
Yeah, I saw something similar to that about Michael Jordan, and it was like, this is how many game-winning shots he missed.
Yes.
Right? But he was just in the position to hit game-winning shots that much that when he finally got to the playoffs, he'd done it so much, he's like, I can do this.
I got this. Yeah.
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 There was a guy like that in golf. Who was the guy? He had blonde hair.
Jack Nicklaus.
Was it Jack Nicklaus? Yeah.
Yeah.
He they say, he hit golf balls till his hands got bloody, and then he wrapped him up and hit him another 1,000 or whatever, and that kind of thing. And even in all those thousands of shots, there was thousands of failures.
Right. Yeah, it's cool, and that's how I think life should be. You gotta keep trying to get better.
Right. But like, if you do the math, if he had stopped at, let's say, I think I get after golf and I hit 1,000 shots. If at 1,000, maybe I'd still be better than him at 1,000. The thing is he hit 20,000, and he's a hell of a lot better.
Exactly.
So where I stop at 1,000 and go, hey, I'm all right. And that guy goes, oh man, no. He's like, okay, I just have another 19,000 to go.
Yeah.
I'll be pretty good at this.
Yeah. It's endless.
Yeah.
Which is awesome.
It is pretty incredible.
Coolest deal.
But yeah, it was something about life is, it was like you're going up. It was like saying like life is a mountain.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to butcher it, but basically life is like a mountain, or like lots of mountain peaks, and you're climbing it. It's this great adventure. You think you're doing so well, but when you turn behind, it's stupid.
Yeah.
You're like, what an idiot.
Yeah.
But the encouraging thing is that you're climbing away from stupid.
Mm-hmm.
So you're always going to be seeing stupid in your wake.
Exactly.
But the good part is that there's less of it, hopefully. If you're going up.
Yeah.
That's how I guess you'd know if stupid's getting wider in your wake. You're like, oops,
yeah,
I'm going down.
And I think the more you know, the more you realize, like in terms of horses and stuff, the more stuff you look back on, it's like, man, what was I doing? That was so dumb. Why was I even trying that? Or man, I was doing that way too early. There's all that stuff too. It's like I would have just waited just a little bit longer and got everything else better. But
Yeah. Then you wouldn't have to do that new thing near as much.
Yeah. And it would be way better because they were in a good frame of mind. They wanted to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a problem I have, though, is I'll want to wait to do the next thing till it's perfect.
Yeah.
And then that'll hold you back, though, too, because
then
then you never allow yourself to, because I think for me it comes from a place of when I do it, it's going to be good. People will be like, man, is that the first time you did that?
Yeah.
You got to be kidding me. But I'm worried about doing it and someone saying, why are you doing that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I got to say, well, it's my first time and just trying it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Keep trying.
Yeah.
So you got to tell yourself.
Yeah. Like anything, like in business, we were, the first time you go do something, right? And you're in some lawyer's office and you're sitting there going, ugh. Where to him, you're just another customer. It's no big
way
deal.
over my head
But you just got to walk in there, be like, hey, I'd like to, whatever it is you're going to do.
Yes.
Might be the first time you've ever done it, but 10 years down the road, you might be the expert and he might just be serving you. But that first time you're in there, you're like, I don't know I hope I even say this correctly. But
Yeah.
it's not a big deal.
It's kind of like
Got to do it sometime.
in school, you look back, like as a freshman in high school, you look back at middle school, it's like, gosh, dang, those classes are easy. Why was I ever worried about a test or something like that?
Yeah.
And as you get more advanced, you look back, it's like, gosh, dang it, that was pretty easy. Or for me, that's kind of the way I looked at it. It's like, why was I worried about that stuff?
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff I've really tried to focus on not doing is all the mistakes I am making now with the horses that I am riding, or that I would look at it as, well, this is how I get better.
Yeah.
So these mistakes have to be made. You got to just take it for what it is.
I mean, I think that's a sign of healthy growth in your life. If you're constantly looking back on things that you feel you were inadequate at, and you're constantly feeling uncomfortable about what you're doing, then you're moving the goalpost. If you were comfortable and you never thought you messed up, you're either a freak of nature or you're pretty stagnant in life.
It's like, I don't know, you probably heard of David Goggins,
Yes.
Marine guy. He says, get comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Because you got to always just keep your mind on.
That's kind of like that embrace the suck. I think that's the Black Rifle Coffee guys. But it's that don't just put up with hardship. Love it.
Yeah, exactly.
Because and don't love it. It's not gonna be fun.
No.
Love it like take it on. Like if you're working out or something or like pursuing horsemanship. That idea where you're like, okay, I'm gonna have to fail 10,000 times. Not like, oh man, well I'm gonna try to just fail less. I'm gonna try to be better. No, start adding them up, man.
Right.
But if you got 10,000 to go, you got a while.
But with that, don't go out trying to fail.
Exactly.
You can't do that.
But
either.
I think
you gotta
putting yourself,
try.
but putting yourself in a place where, I guess fail with like a measure the amount of failure, but you just can't do it right the first time.
Yeah. Don't expect yourself to be doing it perfect the first time you do it.
Yeah. To me, it's like the balance of having the discipline to want to do it correctly, but also giving yourself the grace to allow yourself to fail.
Yeah.
And it's like a constant balance between those, at least for me. Because I know if I go too much to the discipline side and then I do fail, I'll like I'll just completely tear myself apart and be like, what's wrong with you?
Yeah.
And then you go too far the other side and you're like, well, it's okay if you mess up. Then it's like,
Everybody
you got to
Everybody gets first place.
Exactly. So you have to find that middle ground. That's how I define it anyway, between discipline and grace with yourself.
Life is balance.
Absolutely.
To me, that's the way I look at it. You got to be balanced.
Yeah.
How you got to find it, but
yeah,
once you find it, you got to try to stay there.
Yeah.
Yeah, because how you
the
balanced life. There's a balanced life, even with riding horses. You know, you got to find a balance. You can't just do that. I mean, I think like I was saying, Sundays, that's my day off. You're just riding horses 7 days a week, 365, all the time. Yes, that's cool, but there's got to be a little bit of a break in there to give your mind a break too, because that's like, you look at you're working on a puzzle or something.
Yeah.
Walk away for a few minutes, come back. That's kind of the deal. Everybody, you need time to soak on it.
Yeah.
Your brain does just as much as a horse does.
Yeah.
That's how it is.
So we've talked about golf and reading. What is your like decompressing activity? Is it those things mainly, or you have anything else you like to that just helps you turn your brain off, I guess you'd say?
I would say more or less reading my Bible.
Yeah.
That's kind of the deal. That's my biggest deal. I'm pretty spiritual.
Mm-hmm.
Jesus Christ is my Lord and Savior, so that's my biggest deal. I try to give him all the glory, but that's what helps me to decompress, really.
Yeah. There's a lot of people with that answer, so that's a good answer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my, I don't have to, I don't know. I don't go party, I don't go drink. That's not me.
Yeah.
It's not who I am.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
even like in college, I never drank, never went to one party. I was riding horses and studying. And
I was going to say, if you're, driving 2.5 hours away every weekend,
I
probably wasn't going to do that anyway.
And that's the deal. I was all of my class, I was half-time in person and half the classes were online. So all my in-person classes were on Tuesday and Thursday. So I would get done with class on Thursday. I'd go ride the horses that I had in Chadron.
Yeah.
And then I would get up about 2 o'clock in the morning on Friday. Friday morning, I'd load up the horses and I'd head up to Spearfish. And I'd be riding colts all day Friday, Saturday, and then take Sunday off. And then I'd ride Monday till about 9 o'clock at night. And I'd drive back home.
Man,
that's what I did. I did that for.
So sleep. That's what you did on Sunday was sleep.
I slept.
Yeah.
I slept.
We have our answer now.
That is what I did. Yeah. No, I'd go to, there was a little church I'd go to in Chadron. And, so after that, I'd go back and I would pass out.
Yeah, I bet.
Well, unless I had some, stuff to do, study for, or take tests and stuff like that, I was constantly doing that. But
yeah, I bet with that accelerated timeline.
Yeah,
and everything.
I didn't slack in classes.
You're like the opposite of me. It took me 5 years to get my bachelor's.
Yeah.
You must have enjoyed it. You were stretching it out.
Yeah.
I loved it. Yeah, he loved school.
Yeah.
Not me one bit.
Well, I liked college. I don't know if I love school, but no, I got to do like some study abroads and things like that.
Yeah, that's cool.
But because I chose to do those things, it did affect my course load and like how quickly I was able to graduate.
Yeah.
But that was a sacrifice I was willing to make.
Yeah, and so I got like I was saying, I had my associate's degree as a junior, and I originally was going to go up to MSU, Montana State. And when I talked to the counselor up there, who was going to be my counselor or whatever, they said, well, you're going to have to do another year. So it's going to take you 3 years to get your bachelor's, even if you're taking 21 credits or 21 credits. I'm like, screw that. So Chadron State, they kind of were compatible with the community college that I got my associates with. And so everything transferred. So I was like, that's where I'm going.
That makes sense, like being in state and everything, I imagine.
It was in state, and I had no out-of-state tuition. I actually went through college. I have no debt, no student loans. So
that is good.
Yeah. If you can swing that, that's the best thing to do.
Yeah, so I got through as quick as I can and have no loans, and it's perfect.
great, man.
Yeah.
That's awesome. But
So.
Yeah. Well, because I was just thinking about like the whole student loan thing, because, you know, they're forgiving a bunch of student loans right now.
Yeah.
And, yeah, did you come from a family where it was, I don't know, I don't want to say maybe pushed or at least like something
Like
kind of
to go to
instilled in you to
school?
go to college?
Yeah, my parents really wanted me to go to school, and then with Buck saying, you know, you got to get your degree in order to go, that was kind of a big deal. But there was a lot of times it's like, this is stupid. I just want to quit. I don't want to be here. I'm gaining nothing. I mean, I had all my accounting classes done in high school.
Yeah.
So, but
that was something like when I was hanging out with Kip a little bit, Fladlin.
Yeah.
He said he wanted to work for Buck, and Buck said, you got to finish school first.
Yeah.
When you're done, you know, write me a letter, and I'll take you on. But,
yeah. And my parents kind of pushed me to do. They really wanted me to do that. They said, just go and do it, and you did it. So that's what I did.
Yeah. I mean,
I don't know.
I'm not.
I
like
was
an
the same
expert,
way.
But
Yeah.
Not only did I grow up in a family that was like that, I went to a high school that was like that. Like it was the high school I went to. It was a very good public high school. It was like a top 75 high school in the country.
Oh wow.
So it was like there were like a lot of Ivy League students that I graduated with and stuff. Because I grew up in a university town.
Oh, where'd you grow up?
Blacksburg, Virginia, where Virginia Tech is. Yeah.
Oh, okay, very
cool.
cool.
Blacksburg was unique because you had, you know, people like my family where we'd be living there no matter what. Like we have a ranch and that's what we were doing. And so that's like half the kids is like, well, we just, you know, people would be in that area no matter what. And then the other half were, you know, basically professors' kids. And like they're great. Like I have a ton of friends that are professors' kids. I'm not knocking them, but because they were there, it brought the expectation of our classes into like a different light. And so I'll be honest, like in high school and like 18, I had absolutely no direction. So I was just like, well, I'm going to go to college because everyone else is going to college.
Yeah.
And then we're going to go to college. and it was like, I don't regret it at all.
Yeah.
Like the people I met, the opportunities I had, it was great. But realistically, I was a junior in college and I looked up and I was like, I don't want to do anything with this degree I'm going to get. But at that point, it's like, well, just get your bachelor's degree and then you can figure out your life after that.
Yeah.
But
and
luckily,
and some people, that's what it takes. You know?
Yeah. And honestly, like, you know, it's probably just me just not having that direction. Or like, I'm super impressed by your story where you were like 14 years old and I was like, that's what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
That's awesome. But like, I know for me, I didn't have that. I was pretty much just wandering around until I was like 20 years old. And then I was like, oh, this is what I'm passionate about. This is what I want to do.
Yeah.
But then it took me a while to kind of, I don't want to say right the ship. Like, I think it all happened for a reason.
Absolutely.
Because everything I've done up to this point has put me in a spot where I am, and I'm really happy where I'm at. But long story short, it's entirely possible for people to like end up in college just because they're like, well, that's what all my peers are doing. That's what every adult around me is telling me to do. And if you don't know any better or you don't have that aha moment like you did, that's just what you do.
That's what,
you know?
Or it's like, well, it's a good party time, you know?
Exactly. Well,
Some people, I'm not, you know, that's how some people look at it too.
Yeah. And
to me.
I mean, I did well in school, but I'll be perfect. Like, I was a big party guy in school because I was like, this is, and like, I had scholarship. Like, I have no student debt or anything like that. So I was like, I get just like hang out in this town with a bunch of other 20-year-olds and we get to like go to school. And I enjoyed class. And I was like, I get to go enjoy class. Get to ride horses. I played polo in college, so I was just like playing on the polo team.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. And so, I would go to class, play polo, and like we'd party.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is like, I
The
can't
life.
imagine
The
life
life.
getting better. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I looked up and I was like, well, when this all ends,
Now what?
yeah, now what? And so then I was like, now I need to figure out. But
Yeah.
I don't know. It was almost like you were, you know, like Homer in the Odyssey. You guys familiar with that story?
Yeah.
Yeah, where it's like some island and they're eating the fruit.
Yeah.
And everyone.
I haven't read. I read it a long time ago. But
Yeah.
Yes, I remember that story.
I know it really well because I really like that movie Old Brother, Where Art Thou, by the Coen brothers with
that's
George
the
Clooney.
best. That is one of the
So
best movies.
That's Homer in the Odyssey, but it's just set in 1930s Mississippi. If you've never seen that movie,
I haven't seen it.
it's-
you got to see
it's
it.
A really good.
It's good.
movie.
I'll check it
You
out.
you
Yeah.
would like it.
Very
Old
good.
Brother, Where Art Thou? It's
Old Brother, Where Art Thou?
yeah. It's George Clooney in like
Oh.
the 1930s in Mississippi, and he's like a Southern lawyer in the 1930s.
Oh,
But anyway,
sounds interesting.
yeah. So they go to this place and
Well, he's a con man, more right. He's more like a southern, like a traveling con man.
well, we're not going to spoil the movie for Jacob.
Yeah, he's a lawyer, very upstanding citizen.
Yeah. Well, he is a lawyer. He like has a law degree and stuff.
Yeah.
But anyhow, the whole point of that was part of Homer in the Odyssey is they go to this island and everything seems like the island's great. And they're like all eating this fruit, and this fruit gives you like everything you need. Like it gives you everything. But like if you stay there on the island, life is good and you will never want for anything, but you won't be fulfilled also, which is why
The
you have
eternal
to.
fulfillment.
Yeah, exactly. Which is why you have to leave the island. And so that's kind of how I felt in college. Literally, I just didn't know any better because
Yeah.
I was like, well, that's what everyone around me is doing.
Yeah.
That's what every adult influence I've ever had has told me to do. And then you look up and you're like, if I get this degree and then go like work in that field, I'm looking at the people who are like 40, 50 years old in that field, and that's not what I want to be when I grow up. So I got to figure out how to change some things.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like slavery, pretty much. A little bit, like some people's lives. But I don't think you don't just have
I wouldn't
like
compare it to slavery.
well, a little bit, yeah. But it's like a yeah, I would a little bit because like when you have like there's people out there now. You had a pretty nice ride with college, but there's people out there with debt, and they freak out about it. They're way too young to have that much debt.
Yeah.
They don't even know what they want to do with their life.
Kaylee
Somebody
had massive
bamboozled them
student
into a
debt.
bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
But then again, they're still not just gonna like find just like perfect freedom just out of the blue.
Yeah.
But eventually they'll find something that they like to do
Yeah.
better, give them some purpose. But I think it is
So-
a little bit.
so
People
there's
commit
a-
suicide over that.
Yeah.
True.
But there is a way out.
Yeah.
So
now
not
there
so
is.
much like
Biden's
slavery.
saving them.
Yeah.
There's a way out for that though too.
Thanks, Joe.
Eventually. Yeah, no, but there isn't.
other
No,
Joe.
but
The other Joe, not you.
yeah.
I know. But there's people that are on Social Security paying off their student debt.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then
So, I mean-
then they fall into that trap where it's like, well, I have to do this job now.
Mm-hmm.
There is and there isn't.
What?
Oh no, but just on the slavery thing. Like
Yeah.
I'm using slavery in a pretty broad term. Though.
Yeah, I know what you're
Because
saying.
like
I
feel like that's a respect to people who were physically enslaved because that was terrible for them.
Mm-hmm.
But there's like people today who just are enslaved
There's
mentally.
all kinds of. I mean,
There's people
all different kinds
enslaved
of
to
slavery.
junk food down at McDonald's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because like their quality of life is so poor.
Mm-hmm.
They're gonna die of some disease because some big corporation lied to them.
Yeah.
So you don't tell me that's not unfair.
Oh, I think it's very
right?
unfair.
So in fact, that's really unfair. They don't even know who's enslaving them.
yeah.
And poor people either don't have the mental capacity or nobody's telling them that
Yeah.
they're being lied to. So it's like they think it's
I think
cool.
it's a
They're like the
education
people in the
issue.
Matrix, right? They're like running
it's the
around. They're
same
like,
deal.
"This is great. Life is good." You're in a capsule
Yeah.
feeding some machine.
Yeah, that's another good compare. It was like all of a sudden, like someone unplugged me from the Matrix, and I was like, "Wait, I don't want." Like, I've enjoyed this ride so far, but I don't want to go to the end. And luckily, I can still hop off the tracks.
Yeah,
Yeah. On to the next thing.
Yeah,
Exactly.
exactly.
Got to find the brighter side.
absolutely.
Yeah, but it all works out for a reason. Like for example, I mean, it sounds like your life has been like first this happened and then this happened and it works out.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you've worked very hard to be where you're at.
Mm-hmm.
But Just like we were talking about with horses, you got to give yourself the grace. You can't look back and be like, man, I can't believe I let myself make all those mistakes.
Yeah, you have to, honestly, for me, you have to enjoy where you're at.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you don't, you're going to miss all the little things that will end up become big things that you need. And that's where, for the longest time, that's what I was missing. And haven't perfected it in by any means, but keeping the horse in a good frame of mind.
Mm-hmm.
That is huge. That has to be number one, really.
Yeah.
Yes, there's things that they have to do.
Yeah.
You're wrong. But that mental frame of mind, that is big. That is a really big deal.
Yeah. Well, and that idea that you think you're entitled to money or good school or whatever, and then we think we're entitled to tomorrow.
Right.
You might not get tomorrow.
Exactly.
You might not even get later tonight, for that matter.
Yeah,
who knows?
Yeah.
So watch out,
It's
Jacob.
not gonna start with me in the morning.
Yeah. And so that that's like common sense once you think about it that way.
Yeah.
And it's easy to forget. I'll probably forget as soon as we get up from this.
Yeah,
but
but
if you can keep that in mind more often,
Mm-hmm.
that you're not guaranteed anything, and this is your life right now.
Exactly. Take it for what it is. You got to find the good in it.
Yeah.
You have to.
I was talking to an old friend today, and she's going through some stuff in their family, and I didn't have anything. I mean, I'm happy to listen,
Yeah.
But the only thing I do know is that no matter how hard you try, you can't fix it all.
Right.
And that's
Yeah.
I hate to
It's
be
tough.
doom and gloom, and I'm here for you, and I'm listening to you, and the best piece I can give you, I hope it helps, is you can't fix it yourself. That brings me some peace.
Yeah.
Because it's like, hey, hands
Yeah.
off.
Yeah.
It's like that Carrie Underwood song, "Jesus, Take the Wheel." I think of that. It's like I'm all off of it.
No,
You just go for it, man, because I'm gonna screw it up. Actually, if I start messing with stuff and going, all right, I got this. Right? Like if you have a horse in a real bind, sometimes, and if he's like really left you, and you're like, I'll get him back. But really, it's like, no, I'm probably not gonna get him back right there.
Start over tomorrow.
Yeah, swing off, go with him, do something.
Yeah,
but
change
probably
it up.
don't try to make it look good right this second.
Yeah. And that's the other deal I think we fall into is, we may not get something that we're working on, but we keep doing the same exact thing over and over and over. You may just have to change something just a little bit, but that's part of the learning process,
Yeah.
But that's tough. For me, that's really tough for me sometimes, because just change what you're doing. You got to do something different. You keep doing the same thing over and over and over again. Why would you expect something to change?
Yeah. No, I've had instances where, you're working on a colt for somebody, and you're like, okay, maybe it's some troubled thing, and they've come in here because you're kind of the last resort or whatever, and like, okay, so new problem solved. All right, we're gonna start out like this, and it's like you get like 3 seconds, and it's like, well, clearly I shouldn't do that anymore, because that is not going to work.
Well, that didn't work.
Yeah, exactly. But I think as I do it more, like you talk about the state of mind of the horse, I'm much more sensitive to, oh, this isn't going to work. Mm-hmm. Like if I keep pressing here, that's not going to work, you know? And, but like you said, it's so easy, especially if you're super passionate about getting better. Yeah. You're like, well, he seems a little bothered, but this is kind of what I had my mindset on doing today. And, I think that is almost, in a way, it's a little different than like the Jack Nicklaus thing we were talking about. I think there's a lot of parallels to be drawn, but I grew up playing sports. Mm-hmm. And, say you're a baseball player. Oh, well, you just, you messed up, you didn't throw the ball just right, or you didn't throw your splitter just right. You need to just hit your head against the wall and do it over and over. Yeah. You can't do that with horses.
No.
You can't do that.
Well, you're working with two minds. You have yours and you have the horses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they don't have the same intrinsic motivation to get better that you do.
No.
Like, I'm not saying that they don't want to be with you and help you, but they don't have the mindset of, we should sit here for 2 hours and try to get my hindquarters. That's a really good idea.
Right. And I've had this conversation a lot, like with roping. Let's say I've been working on a certain shot. Okay, I start getting it very good. Okay, now in my head, this is just how I'm wired is, okay, I have to get it at least 5 times good before I can quit. With the horse, that is not the case whatsoever. If you do that, you're going to start ruining things. And I've done that. It's like, well, I got it good one time. How about 5 more? And then I'll get off. Then we're good. But it's like, no, that is not how you go about that. But for me, I had to go through that little phase,
Yeah, I did the same thing. But how you just described it is a perfect way to describe it.
That's how I think. That's how I was with sports when I grew up playing soccer and football. And it's like, well, you have to get this at least 10 times.
Yeah. Like it's the like
10 times.
Hit 10 free throws before you leave the gym type
10
thing.
in a row. Deal. You got down to that point
and you can't do that with horses.
No.
But it's hard to when you first really get into the horsemanship deal and every other pursuit in your life that has worked, or like studying for a test. Well, I got to get like the 50 states 10 times in a row.
Repetition, yes.
Yeah, exactly. When that's worked and everything else, it can be a hard habit to break. But I'd like to think I'm past that now. And I think working with a bunch of horses gets you over that a lot quicker.
Yes. Yeah,
when you got 1 or 2, it's easy to get in that rut.
Mm-hmm.
But when you have a ton of them, you're like, well, I can't sit here and do this forever.
There's a lot of value in going back and forth from having a bunch of horses to get through on a day, and then just having a couple.
Yeah.
Because with a bunch, there's certain things you kind of have to change the way you go about things. You have to get things done. It's not going to be as good as if you just had one, but you have a lot of different horses different personalities that you're working with there. So you have to change how you're going about things with every horse. Whereas if you're just working with one, okay, you think every horse is just like that one, which is not the case whatsoever.
Yeah.
So each horse is different. You have to go about things differently, and then that's what helps you grow.
Yeah.
It helps you change with your horsemanship. But,
yeah. That's sense. Awesome, man. I totally agree.
Yeah, but there's value in, I think, in order to get handy, in order to get really good at this, you have to kind of do that. Mm-hmm. You need to have a bunch of horses that you're riding, and then after a while, just have one, or just a couple that you're working with, and then there's a lot of value there because you can really, with those, let's say you're riding 10 horses or something, there's something that each one of those horses is going to be teaching you, and then let's say you're going down to one horse or something. Okay, now you have all of that knowledge that you gained from those 10. You can try to really refine it with that one. And that's just the little growing process that it's like, oh my gosh.
And then that refinement will come back to the next 10.
And then the next build. Or however many you have next, it's like, I could offer so much less, and the horse will take me up on it. They're like, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah,
I remember, not in our podcast, but if you remember a couple years ago, Robbie said something similar to us where how important it is to have your own horses and like have just like 1 or 2 horses that you're really studying with to try to really refine everything. Mm-hmm. Like if you don't have that, you're kind of setting yourself back a little bit with your growth.
Yeah. And you have to be willing to change how you go about things. That's part of the deal too, because I think it's easy to get in the frame or to have the mental thought of, well, it has to be done this way. It only works if I do this 5 times. I get no.
Yeah.
Maybe you don't even do that. Maybe you don't even do the hindquarters.
Yeah.
5 times what it is. Maybe it's only 1. That's all you need.
Yep.
But there's a lot of that whole deal where it's like, well, I have to work on this 10 minutes exactly.
Yeah.
There's that aspect of it too.
Yeah.
You can't be that regimented.
No.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah.
So where do you go from here? When does your year close out with Buck?
It'll close out right after the Pro-Am, which is the last weekend of October, and we'll make our way back home, and So that'll be around the 1st or 2nd of November.
And then what will you be doing after that?
I've got a bunch of horses lined up down in Oklahoma. I'm going to be starting a bunch of colts and trying the cow horse deal. I'm pretty excited. That's
nice.
a big deal, yeah. So that's kind of what that's my focus, is that cow horse. That's kind of in the next few years I'd like to go show. And
Are you going to be down there by yourself, or you got someone to be hanging around?
I'm going to be with Isaac.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm gonna
is that where he's doing his
academy?
Oklahoma?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I remember that now.
Yeah. So we're going to be down there riding colts and doing the show deal. Trying to get into the cow horse deal. I'm pretty excited. It's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be awesome, man.
Is that so that the mare that you have now?
Yeah. I mean, I may show her, but
you got your eye on horses that you want to show?
At the moment, no, but yes, there are. I mean, there's a lot of horses, really nice horses out there. It's just, horses aren't cheap right now, and prices aren't going down for good ones. So it'll be outside horses, But yeah, so I'll be experimenting on her.
Cool. So, any of you owners out there that want Jacob to ride your horse this winter, we're putting it on your radar now.
Yeah, I appreciate
He'll be in Oklahoma.
Yeah, I appreciate it. No, but that cow horse deal, that's really piqued my interest. That's kind of pretty excited about that.
You could do that, and you could do master classes on how to win the Pro-Am.
Yeah.
Folks, he's open for business.
Yeah.
Yeah. You could do roping clinics for the rest of your life now.
Oh, sure.
2021 Pro-Am champion Jakob Huck. Come study with him.
I don't know about
You're
that.
set, man.
Yeah.
And then we'll talk about you on the next podcast. Man, that Jakob Huck, he just thinks he's it.
Yeah.
He's the shit. That's what we do. We like to set him up and knock him down.
Yeah, pretty arrogant guy, huh?
Yeah, exactly.
Man.
Cool.
Yeah,
man.
no, it's pretty exciting. Exciting stuff.
That'll be great.
So.
That'll be great.
Joe, have you been giving it some thought?
What?
Mount Rushmore.
Oh, yeah, we can do a Mount Rushmore.
Well, we don't even have to do it right this second. I was just checking in with you.
Do you
Their
have
co-host?
thoughts?
No, not at all.
Oh, okay.
I just popped in my head.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Hmm.
I was driving the other day, and that podcast we did with John, that also got clipped off there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, it was good, whatever, but
Yeah.
it was kind of like I was driving along, and I was like, man, it's like when you lose something and you'll never get it back. And you're like, man,
It's all right.
it was sad. Anyway.
You lose part of the podcast?
Yeah, we did. We lost a whole chunk off the end of that one.
Really?
With John Benninger.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it took one for the team.
Sure did.
Sorry, John.
John took one for a team.
John
We'll do better with the next
team.
guest.
Yeah. Exactly. That's how you got to look at it. Got to be a little bit better.
Yeah, we only have like 900 and something thousand left to do before we're good at this. So.
Yeah.
You're going by the 10,000 rule.
Yeah, the 10,000 rule, and then you better do another 10,000.
Heck yeah.
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 Well, we'll live long enough.
No, it's a lot tougher to do Mount Rushmores with people you have like newly met.
Yeah.
Because I don't quite have a beat on Jacob yet. Like what are things you have real strong opinions on?
Well, my religion, I'm pretty, or I guess.
Okay, Mount Rushmore of religions.
No,
just kidding.
I don't know.
Mount Rushmore of religion.
Yeah. All right. Here.
Well, I guess I'll give you this. This may help you shape things, but something that's really, and I didn't think it ever would help change my view of horsemanship, but I actually lived in China for about 6 months when I was a little kid.
Oh, nice.
So just realizing how blessed we are to have things, the stuff that we have, the space that we have, and
yeah.
So you're not a pro-communist, I take it.
No, far from it.
Okay, so how about we do this, and it can be, let's do a Mount Rushmore of places you've seen since you've been on the road with Buck? Because you've gotten to travel quite a bit.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be like the clinic venue. You know, I mean, I don't know what your like itinerary looks like, but I imagine you've traveled places that you otherwise wouldn't have gone to.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
and that's a pretty cool opportunity.
Yeah, that is. Like in terms of my favorite or what exactly?
Yeah, your favorite. Like you're like, man, that was a cool place to be.
I don't really have a favorite. Each place is unique on its own.
He's going to be a politician one
He's
day.
being too nice.
Yeah. No, I mean, honestly, though. I
Anywhere
really,
but Missouri.
We already know you don't like this one here. Taylor does a terrible job.
Yeah. No, Taylor, you're doing a great job.
Oh, no, that's not a great one. And honestly, we don't have to do a Mount Rushmore.
Nah.
I hadn't thought about it too much with him.
Honestly, I
For the next
I
one.
kind of felt the same way.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to see you think. Like, there's nothing more rewarding than, like, passing something off to someone else
And
sometimes.
there's-
Okay.
Do you know that feeling?
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Like, usually I like taking stuff on, but every now and then there's something I don't want to do, and I
Mm-hmm.
know someone else can do it. And when you just say, you do it, and it's really fun to just kind of
All right. Well, now
sit
I'm
back
going
and watch. And
now
be
I'm
like,
gonna do
What
it.
would you say?
Now I'm going to do it. And, like, you're going to be like, damn, I wish I had thought of this, and Joe's a way better podcast host.
Oh, I would love to have that feeling.
All right. What's your Mount Rushmore of rope shots?
Oh, boy. Yeah, he hit it.
Mr. Pro-Am champion. And that they don't have to be ones you can do. Yeah, I mean,
Well-
I've never seen your rope, so I mean, you could be the like handiest guy I've ever met.
I think
but
for a headshot, the scoop loop,
scoop loop.
is one of the
Okay, so
coolest
Mount
headshots.
Rushmore, you get 4
get 4.
out of all the loops.
Johnny Walker
Okay,
is a
scoop.
turnover.
Yep,
Um,
I'm not that. I know what that is.
I mean, a Houlihan, and then just honestly, a basic trap shot.
Yeah,
That is, I don't know. Those are my 4.
gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. You did it. That's kind of that. You know what I mean by chalk, right? That's like chalk would be like you. I'm going to pick Alabama to win the national title every year.
Yeah.
So it's like picking the favorites.
Gotcha.
I feel like that's a chalky Mount Rushmore. Like there were no
Yeah.
unexpected loops in there.
No.
I'm not it's a comment, not a criticism.
No, yeah.
You're the
Not
Pro-Am
taken.
champion, not
No.
me. But
No.
like those, but I totally agree with you. Like if someone had those 4 loops, you'd be like, man, they got some stuff going on.
Mm-hmm.
Like if they could do those 4 loops really consistently.
Yeah. If I could add one more, just a basic headshot. I mean, you got to be able to go fast at some point. You know, it's not everything.
Yeah.
It's like a lot of the ranch roping, I guess, stereotypes where it's like, oh, it's really slow and stuff. Yeah, but in the real world, you got to go
It never
fast.
works
too.
out that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think team roping's pretty cool too. So go
Yeah.
fast.
Yeah. Go fast, turn left.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, it's like Junior Nogueira doing the pullback for Jesus. You see him do that. You got to look it up. He's I think he's won the NFR a couple of times. He's a Brazilian healer. He can heal anything. He is one of the ropiest healers I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
I have to look it up.
Now,
Yeah.
that's not the guy who's from like New Mexico, is he?
Well, he may live there now, but
Okay.
he was born and raised in Brazil.
Okay.
Gotcha. In every picture you see, he's usually leaned back on the back of his horse.
Yeah.
Like he calls it the pullback for Jesus, but that's what he calls it.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool. Yeah, I like that. That's a good Mount Rushmore.
That was pretty good.
So
Yeah, it's fun. I don't know. How did that even start? That we did that.
I think we did it with somebody, but I pretty unabashedly just stole it from another podcast I listen to pretty consistently.
What's
Thief.
that?
It's called Pardon My Take. It's like a sports podcast,
Oh, okay.
and they'll just do like Mount Rushmores or whatever. And but I think it started with Dylan.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah, I think it
It did.
started with Dylan.
Yeah.
But no, I just I thought it was a good idea, so I stole it.
It's a good little tradition. I think we ought to keep it going. That's
Yeah.
why even when it doesn't make any sense or feels stupid or whatever, we should do it
Yeah,
because it's good.
I agree.
It's a good
I like it.
Yeah.
good little twist in there.
That's why other really successful podcasts also do it, because it's the smart thing to do.
Whoa, other really successful podcasts.
What?
You just said other really successful podcasts.
Yeah, well,
that implies that like
This one is.
like other as in other in accordance with the one you were just talking about, or other
okay, so
compared to ours.
Mount Rushmore.
So like we're one or the other.
Mount Rushmore isn't like a new concept.
It's
so,
not?
No, so
Oh yeah. Okay, go ahead.
if you're like, I mean, in media, if you were growing up in like the early 2000s and you would watch Sports Center, when there was no sports going on besides like baseball in the middle of July, they'd be like, oh, on today's segment, because there's nothing to talk about, we're going to do our Mount Rushmore of basketball players. And it'll be like Larry Bird, Michael Jordan. And then they'll debate, like, how can you put Larry Bird on there and not Akeem Olajuwon? And just, and then they have something to talk about for 45 minutes.
Yeah.
And so that's where the concept of Mount Rushmore in media.
And that's the only place I've ever heard it.
Yeah.
And because I didn't think of it as being something relevant to a podcast. Because, like, I saw through that since I was a little kid. Like, I thought that was the dumbest thing, because you listen to these shows and you'll hear the same person go, oh, he's the greatest of all time. And you're like, do you realize you've said that about, like, 100 different people? Mm-hmm. So, like, how is everybody the greatest of all time? Like, I've always wanted just one greatest of all time. Like, don't have 100 greatest of all time. It's too many. Because then they're not. Somebody was better.
Yeah, exactly.
Who stood out in all those people, So, like, I just always thought that was funny. So then when you used it on the podcast in that context, I liked it.
Well, there you go.
We have we're going to redeem the whole Mount Rushmore.
Yeah. We're going to edit all this to sound way more fluid.
Way more fluid.
Make it seem,
Cut
we went straight to asking
here.
him that. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it's crazy what you can do in post, man. You can sound like you're real smart.
I bet you can make somebody sound really dumb, too.
Oh, yeah. Oh, we'll show you.
Yeah.
Oh, cool, man. Well, it's been awesome. We got 3 days of a clinic here to do, so
Yes, we do.
we better let you get to a little bit of sleep, I guess.
Yeah, let's
But-
wrap it up.
Yeah, man.
Awesome.
We really appreciate you coming on here. This has been fun.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I've enjoyed it. It's been awesome.
Good.
Good to have you.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks,
See ya.
everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.